that I think Africa has a way of suppressing its best people for no fucking reason. You can get punished for any reason here. Like he said, you have an American accent. Oh, you think you're better than us?
Yeah.
You're going to fucking suffer.
They tell you, this ethnic group are very loyal. They are very hardworking. They're very strong. Therefore, they shall be in the security sector. This group, do not trust them. They have sticky fingers. They're thieves or whatever. Don't have them in your company. People tend to run their businesses around that premise.
Hi guys, welcome to Kenganda. My name is Johnny Tamai and this is the Repart podcast and I am joined by
Gilbert Katumba, chef and entrepreneur. Happy to be here.
Welcome Gilbert.
Yes, Master Gabs in the building. Also happy to be here.
Yes, Gabs.
Let's get into it. Okay, so Chef, we talked about these topics about a month ago.
Yes.
And one of the topics that we're talking about is with the Africa Free Trade Agreement coming together.
Yes.
In Africa trying to solidify its working relationships with its neighboring countries and trying to keep the money in our continent.
Yes.
We're going to have some problems with somehow working together. You mentioned something that was pretty interesting that I hadn't really thought about. Mm-hmm. And that was what?
I think it was something to the effect of we as Africans tend to look for differences amongst ourselves rather than similarities. And it has kept us back as a race. For example, you're not the same tribe as me.
Okay.
You're not the same clan as me. You know, for every societal stage, we have a way of splitting hairs. You know what I mean?
Give me an example.
An example would be starting a company and hiring people from your ethnic group.
Yes.
And not trying to diversify and...
Or not basically operating on meritocracy.
Yes.
Okay.
So somebody will start a supermarket and they will go to their hometown.
Okay.
And get a bunch of people. Doesn't matter what professional level they're at. We're the same tribe. Come work in my supermarket.
Why is that for... And I kind of have an idea, but for those of us who grew up, I mean, the African American group, we're somewhat of a tribe, but there's so many of us that are like it's like, you know, you're from the West Coast, you're from this city, you're from whatever. So we might not understand tribalism as Africans may understand it because we're all pretty much a homogeneous population for the most part. Right. But so kind of explain why would someone from another place like Uganda or Angola, something like that, why would they bring their people? Because I've seen that here in Uganda. Why would they? What is their thinking when they do that?
We have certain biases.
Okay.
As a people. Okay. We tend to think of certain tribes having certain character traits. We don't look at the individual. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And somebody would rather entrust their business in somebody who he knows. He comes from my hometown. Okay. He's my tribe. Okay. He would never steal from me. Sure. Okay. That's not always the case, though, you know, because human beings will be human beings and they'll do what human beings do.
Like I've heard in Uganda, like those from the north, they're really loyal. So that's why they're like security guards or things. Is that true?
Again, that comes back to those
in the army, the military. They're very loyal.
There are things that have been ingrained.
Okay.
Us as Ugandans, you know, they tell you, this ethnic group are very loyal. They are very hardworking. They're very strong. Therefore, they shall be in the security sector. This group, do not trust them. They have sticky fingers. They're thieves or whatever. Don't have them in your company. People tend to run their businesses around that premise.
Okay, let me kind of explain before I give the mic up because I don't want to ask too many questions. I've noticed that those in Nairobi, especially with the tax increase protests, there is this Generation G is trying to operate as a tribalist group, which is very much different from what I'm seeing what's happening in Uganda. Uganda, for example, we did the Pan African dating show, the Wraith and Yash concept. We can do it here by tribe.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's not offensive to anybody because not like Uganda is so like tribalistic, like it's bad or anything, it's violent.
Right.
But people are proud to be from Lukbar, Acholi, Uganda, and they're here in the central region in Kampala.
Yes.
But I noticed that Generational Z and the Kenyans, they want to be considered a tribalist group.
Yes.
Because they feel like these are the issues that have held them back as a group here. What do you think about that situation as far as how they're operating right now in Nairobi? And is that what needs to happen all over Africa?
So Kenya and to a great extent Tanzania, they have a leg up on Uganda in that they have a unifying language.
Okay.
That isn't specific to what, specific ethnicity.
Very great point. Oh my God.
We don't have that in Uganda. And for the most part, somebody can tell where in Uganda you come from, regardless of what language you're speaking. You're speaking English a certain way, somebody will know based off of his accent, he's from the north or he's from the west. That's starting to change with people of our generation and the generation after us, in that when we're speaking English or Luganda, you can't really tell where somebody is from. Even because of the intermarriages, you can't really tell through physical features where somebody is from. Or they might be of a multiple ethnic background. You just can't be sure these days. Back in the day, you could be sure. If somebody's really dark-skinned and tall, they're definitely from the north. If somebody is very shapely and they have black gums, very definitely from the west. This isn't my opinion. These were biases that we heard growing up. Like if somebody has a big nose, they're from like the central. But that's not the case anymore. But still, biases like that still linger, They're very hard to get rid of, especially in a workplace situation. Somebody will look at your resume, they'll read your second name, and they'll be like, yeah, I'm not hiring this person.
Let me ask you something.
Yes.
You are from the Central, and I don't want to be offensive to anybody, but the Central is the largest kingdom, Uganda, in East Africa.
Yes.
Do you feel like you've been discriminated in the Central, which is the biggest tribe in Uganda?
Me specifically?
Yes.
I have not. I have one advantage. I don't sound like somebody from the Central.
Okay.
On top of that, I wouldn't call it assuage their biases. I speak multiple languages. You might look at my second name and see that I'm from the Central, for example.
Yes.
But I'm speaking your language. I'm not talking about English. I'm talking about like ethnic languages. Like
how many can you speak?
Comfortably, like 7.
But do you speak it with an accent that's from?
It doesn't matter, as long as you can communicate.
Okay.
Doesn't matter what your proficiency is. As long as you can show them that you can come down to where they're at. That's all that matters. Somebody will look at you in a whole new way if you're speaking their mother tongue than they would if you say, hi, I'm Gilbert Katumba in Luganda or in English. I've read your resume, but what else? They need you to, what else can you do for me?
Let me ask Gaba, because Gaba, you came from the United States, born and raised an American. You come into this environment, and what is your experience in comparisons to the chef?
In our previous conversation, Chef mentioned we may look alike. We may both be black. We may, in our case, we may have names that reflect that we are
from here.
From here, right?
Yes.
But because of the way that I speak, because I don't have a mastery of my mother tongue, I am still looked at as foreigner. You know what I'm saying? But that's okay, because, I've made my best efforts to, develop relationships with the people that are most meaningful to my existence and consistent growth in a way that doesn't require me to have a mastery of my mother's language, Nyankole, right?
Mm-hmm. And your father also?
My father is also from that same region, yes.
Okay.
I just, they say your mother tongue, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I am also making a strong effort to learn.
Okay.
I'm making a strong effort to become conversant with the language enough that I will be able to, consistently communicate with people in the situations that are going to be necessary. Another thing that I've noticed and that I've recognized, particularly when we talk about the kingdoms and the ethnic groups and things of that nature here in Uganda specifically, is that, some are respected more than others.
Yes.
Some people have a very heavy leaning upon the fact that I am of this ethnic group. And because we have a monarch, we have a king that has been recognized by
the government,
right? Since the Kingdom of Uganda is recognized as its own thing by the government of Uganda, that matters to the people of that culture.
Yes.
The Toro Kingdom, same way, right?
Yes.
The Busoga, same way. The Chabazinga, right? Same way. Where I come from, the Ankole Kingdom hasn't been restored.
Right.
That prestige. You know what I'm saying? And yet, the president and all of the most quote unquote powerful people in Uganda come from Ankole. Yet, you know what I'm saying? And there's a whole backstory around that, which doesn't necessarily need to be delved into in this particular moment. So that's a very interesting one for me, right?
I have a question for you. Do you feel that your accent sometimes insulates you from certain biases and aspects of life in Uganda?
Insulates me? I mean,
do you feel othered a lot more because of your accent?
I would say it isolates me more than insulates me. I would say that it is something that is remarkable and people remark about it. People joke and tease and they make light of it, right?
They tease you.
Yeah, I mean, I went an entire 6 years working in a company where I was the only person who spoke the way that I speak.
Right.
And because I made so many presentations and I speak with such eloquence and
definitely
and I speak with such a commanding confidence, people were like, "Oh, it's the accent."
Yes,
it's the accent.
He speaks English better than me.
You know what I'm saying? He's impressing us because of the accent. Not because I'm just fucking smarter than you guys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He's a marvelous vocabulary.
Yeah.
I have to sometimes, it was one word that you said, I'd like to go and look at what it was. It was a word for being overly generous. How do you say it? What is it, the word you're talking about?
What are you talking about, like magnanimous or something?
And yes, magnanimous, exactly. I didn't know what that word was.
Yeah. So here's what I think, and I think coming back to the topic of, the African Free Trade Agreement, and there's a lot of language that is being used these days. Are we Pan Africanists? Right? Are we trying to create this Pan African culture where we're about the growth of Africa? Are we about the growth of the continent rather? Are we for Africans?
Yes.
And I think we're still in this era where it sounds good, but there are still a lot of habits that need
Come on, teach, brother. Preach, pastor.
There's still a lot of cultural...
I see a viral clip.
There are still a lot of cultural hurdles that need to be jumped over, right? Yes.
It's going to go viral.
I mean, even within our region, let's take a country like Rwanda, for example, right? I have family in Rwanda. I have many friends who are Rwandans. And the realities of the fact that Rwanda suffered a genocide 30 years ago, within our lifetime, right? And it's something that is still freshly impacting the growth.
Ingrained in our memories.
In our memories, but more specifically, the people that are currently responsible for building that nation into what it is right now, that's a defining part of their life. Right? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know that other African cultures can relate to something specific as that. You know what I'm saying? But there are other countries in Africa that are still ravaged by civil war. There are other countries in Africa whose governments have been toppled within the last decade. You know what I mean?
Within the last 5 years.
Within the last 5 years, right? And we in Uganda are very comfortably insulated with our lifetime president, right? So I just think that there's a lot of cross-cultural inequity. Like my situation isn't your situation.
Yes.
Right.
And for Pan-Africans to kind of look at each other on a level playing field, so to speak, and to understand that we all need to collaborate and build this economic environment that allows us all to feel like we're playing on a level playing field. So many of those cultural and historical dynamics that are still at play need to kind of be worked out, so to speak. And so I think that's a big factor that will prevail in how the economic part of it comes together.
Let me kind of jump in this. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joan. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to comment. I'll start from the beginning. When Chef Katz was talking about someone who brings over like his tribe men to fill up a supermarket and whatnot. I think when you go back in the earlier days or tradition, it was more of like, if one of you makes it out of the village, you must get the other 10 that remain, you know? It's like, you can't just make it and come to the city.
Great point.
And do something for yourself. You have to go back there and like provide jobs for these people, provide opportunities for these people. So I feel like however much some people make it and succeed, they still have that, should I say, sort of responsibility?
Yeah, absolutely.
To like bring people from the village.
Yes, that's a good point.
It's very unique to the Black.
It's a good point.
Yeah, especially I feel like for Ugandans, because like we have it in us, like even in the family group, like you have to help each other.
Even if you're a girl.
In us.
Even if you're a girl.
Like you have to help each other. Yeah, it's like if there's an opportunity, drop it in the family group. Like if there's something, you know, if someone has lost their job.
It's a very good point.
Like do your best to make sure like, you can help them out in what you can. So I feel like for some people, they do that. So would you say that's being bad, or would you say that's actually helping your people? Because that's the thing. When I had the topic, I was like, okay, it's a great topic. But then I had Chef talk about it. I was just like, is it bad?
Joan, who do you consider your people?
See, now that's the thing.
It's another episode, right?
Yeah.
Because like, I'm all over.
Who do you consider your people? That's also.
Would you consider yourself to be more of your mother's tribe or your father's tribe?
I would say
both.
Are you more of a central lady, or are you from the Port Portal?
I would say from Fort, like from the west.
Okay. You're more of
that's where I grew up.
Yes.
Right.
However much, but we used to come to the city because that's where our dad had like roots.
Yes.
So it's just like I just belong in like all these places.
Okay. Let me just kind of say this as a person that is not from Uganda and from our outside looking in, as to when we come into an environment like this. For me, I knew very little about what tribe this was. The president, I knew about Museveni. I didn't know where he was. I didn't know that Idi Amin was a Luo. That I didn't know, and most Americans, when we come to Uganda, we don't know it. And to be honest, we really don't care. If we really want to be honest.
Right.
Because we are, for the most part, taught as blacks in our community. All blacks are pretty much the same. We have a lot of romanticism about Africa coming up. Like I can remember guys knocking door to door when I was a kid, you know, selling like encyclopedias about Africa or whatever.
Right.
So that's kind of embedded in us. One of our biggest churches called African Methodist Episcopal, AME. Have you ever heard of it before?
Yes.
AME was started by Richard Allen. One of our biggest churches in oldest churches in New York City called the Abyssinian Baptist Church, which was started by Ethiopians and African Americans.
Yes.
So we have this kind of connection to Africa, like we're the same people, and even though we're different, we're the same. So when we come to Africa, first of all, we don't care about none of the tribes, to be honest.
Yeah.
Everybody, for us, will be on the same level.
Yeah.
The whites, they differentiated between those in Burundi and Rwanda, Hutus and Tutsis, and this one is more like this. We don't look at it like that.
Right.
And in the private sector as blacks, we don't care about that either. What we're looking for as people from the diaspora is, can you do the job? That's what we're looking at. You can edit videos. Where are you from? Oh, you're from Mbale. Great. Can you start tomorrow? We're like when I hired, there's a lady I hired. I want to mention her name, but there's a lady I hired in another country, Kenya. When I met her, I didn't care about she's from whatever tribe it is. Kikuyu. She was Kikuyu. Doesn't matter. What we think of is when the diaspora looks at Africa, and that's why it's important for the diaspora to have a conversation in the African conversation.
Yes.
Not because we know all about Africa, but we just have a different view. And when we want to come in, we're not going to judge anybody based on the fact, because Africans, everybody's black, so you have to differentiate.
Yes.
With us, we are the minority in America. So everybody is us.
You have to stick together.
Now we're getting to the point where people are talking about delineating. You know, we have like the whole FBA, ADOS thing, but it wasn't always like that. There was a point in time where Harry Belafonte, who was a Caribbean, was in our community. Sidney Poitier was in our community.
Right.
Now it's a little bit different in this generation because of the beef between some of the Caribbeans and Haitians. We're different. But those are our group.
Yeah.
We can't really differentiate ourselves. You know, we had people like Louis Farrakhan, who's a Caribbean, but he runs Nation Islam. Who's the other guy? Marcus Garvey. He's a Jamaican. We didn't have problem with other leadership from outside of our group. So the thing is, when we talk about our differences, you're black, so there is really no difference for us, at least traditionally. The only thing that I'm caring about is, are you a good person and do you love black people and do you want to do the job? And I think but it's going to be hard for Africans to look at it like that because of the way that Africans who have ruled Africa have looked at each other. Us who have not lived in Africa, it's easier for us to do that. Yes. And we don't know the mentality. We can try to say Africa, well, you guys need to be tribalists, but we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's happened in these kingdoms for over 400, 500 years, who's done what to who.
Yeah.
So we got to be respectful of that. But for us, when we come in on the ground, you all are the same.
Yeah.
As long as you're cool with us, we love you. Let's work. Now, what I've noticed is in our company, we have one of my first managers was Jabril. He's Tanzanian. He went back. We have Rachel, then we had Joan. We under our third, fourth GM, who's from Uganda. We have editors from all over the spectrum. None of the things we never talk about is your tribe. We don't talk about that. What we care about is if you do the work. And if you don't do the work, it don't matter if you Uganda, if you African American, if you're Kenyan, I'm going to send your motherfucking ass to the streets. That's all that matters. You disrespect me, you go in the same place. It don't make white, black, Asian, Russian, here. Okay? But I think that also because of the delineation of the groups, you miss out on so much talent because, let me just say, for example, you have talented people in I've been in Uganda for 2 years straight now. What I telling you, Gaba, I got a chance to know Kevin Samuels. I've met Raymond Kahuma. I've met Agaba. I've met Joan. I've met Rachel. I've met some of the top, Kim, rest in peace, the most talented people I have met as content creators, at least out of the 15. 8 been here, which means that these people, for whatever reason, felt suppressed because they didn't have opportunity to do whatever they were doing. So it's not like the talent was not here. It has been here.
Yes.
And I feel like Uganda has as much talent as anybody else on like Nigeria, African American community, South Africa. I'm biased to my group, but if you have a community that encourages talent, your talent is going to show. Here in Uganda, I do feel the difference is if you have talent, people don't believe in themselves as much as we do back home. Like, in my community, when I'm growing up, your mom tells you things like, you can do X, Y, and Z here. Go ahead and do that. I don't know if the average kid that grew up at the time I was growing up has that mentality because I have too many people second guessing themselves about what their ability. When I met Joan, for example, Joan was in a whole nother major doing something totally different, not this business. And if you were to ask her, does she think she would be in this career now? She probably would tell you no. But she had the ability the whole time.
Yes.
Whether she believed that she had that ability is left to be seen.
She needed somebody to see it.
But that's what I'm saying. And what I'm saying here is, it's like in the private sector, there's so much talent in Uganda. Agaba's a genius. And I had a private conversation with him I won't discuss. He's probably one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. Not just, I ain't talking about in this country. That I think Africa has a way of suppressing its best people for no fucking reason. You can get punished for any reason here. Like he said, you have an American accent. Oh, you think you're better than us?
Yeah.
You're going to fucking suffer.
You can't stand out in this country.
You're a guy that's conceited or you're arrogant. Like, let me just be honest.
Yeah.
I got the attitude. The guy got the attitude. That don't mean that the guy is not good. That just means that the nigga's like that. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that he's not, that's just a personality you deal with somebody who's confident in themselves. I'm not threatened by that, but here, oh, he's not humble.
Let me ask you a question about that. I didn't grow up here.
Right.
So my formative years were spent in a different environment, but my parents did grow up here. And so I think their attitudes toward parenting were informed by their experiences that they had as a kid growing up.
Yes.
I think, this is my hypothesis, and tell me if you think I'm off base, you guys. I think that we're in a stage where we're just now getting to the place where kids growing up have the freedom to think and be very grandiose with their ambition.
Yes.
Whereas before, everything has to have been practically applied to, here's what I know works.
Exactly.
Things have been kind of done in a way whereby kids were driven toward a formulaic approach to go to school, study, get a degree in this. And my parents want me to study this because I think I should get a job in this. Yes. And a lot of people from this generation, from the millennial generation, even through to Gen Z now, I'm sure some of these guys sitting on the other side of the camera can even attest to that they were told what to study before they knew what they wanted to study.
True.
And I think that's a big reason why so many young people out here have degrees that they're not using.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There are so many people who have graduated from university with degrees that they have no interest in applying professionally whatsoever because they studied things that were chosen for them. And they weren't given the permission to dream. They weren't given the permission to have irrational confidence that I can be something that has never been discovered or seen before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think now this is the generation that there's a level of security that the parents are establishing for themselves that is now allowing them to encourage their kids to be vivid dreamers.
True.
But when your parents came from a situation that was so insecure before, they're not programmed in a way to be able to kind of allow you that freedom.
And let me say this. I don't know the culture, but I feel it with the people that I interact, at least in the company, that they feel a lot like the old generation. Whereas they can't dream, they can't be who they should be in the private sector or whatever. And again, like we talked about originally, the concept of this podcast was looking for every reason to be different than the same. Yes. And I think that that's just ingrained in people. So when you find somebody from, like, let me say, for example, like my mom, I hate to expose her, but I'm going to expose her. My mom cried. I went back home right before I graduated med school, 2020. I was like, I'm going back to Uganda after this. She's like, don't go there. They do voodoo. They don't like our group. You know how Africans feel about, my mom is a staunch, like, African-American, Louisiana-bred Negro. Like, she is on that type of hype. Like, you know, she don't really like Africans like that. You know what I mean? And my grandma is very similar. My grandma's a little bit more open, but my mom is more African-American. Look, we're not like them. They're not like us kind of person. And she's very, very open about that. You know, me coming back to Africa and then achieving what was done, like, just like, oh my God, I love Agaba. She commented on our video before with you on the video, and this isn't about me. She only made one comment on this fucking channel, and it was about him. Again, but that's the thing that we talk about is overcoming those differences. Well, why do you feel that way about Africans if you're African American? Yes. Or if the other way around? Why do you not like them? And when you peel that back, well, they said something about you. Nigga, we say something about you in the black community in African American. I stay talking about people all the time. You know what I mean? That don't bother me. What is the goal? The goal is, if we work together, what can we get? Look at the whites. Just World War II. Paris hated Germany. Look at them now. Look at Poland and Germany right now. They're doing more business than everything else, right? So we look for those reasons as to why we can't do business, why we can't, help each other.
Can't thrive together.
And the rest of the world is doing that. And then when they get together, you come to Africa. One Polish dude, storytime music. I have a buddy named Nee Adder. He told me some stories about a Polish consulate Polish people went to Nigeria. Okay, I have a buddy. Won't tell you name in Poland. The Poland guy, when he came to Lagos, he stayed there for 2 weeks. He said, "Listen, I have never had that kind of booty in my life." He said, "I want to go back to Nigeria as a Polish person. And whenever you can help me get back there, I want to go back. Can I go back now?" These are white people who are not our group, And they go to, and again, they were fighting with their own, the Polish against whoever else, Russia, whatever else. Now they come to Nigeria and they're the great unifiers and they benefiting off of everything. And, you know, the one thing I want to say is what I've noticed is focus on what you can get along with. With those groups of people that they like you, everybody ain't gonna like you. But those people who like you want to build, and man, Africa, you can do anything. Man, we have so much talent here. And I figure like when we focus on that, I've met so many great people who have helped me in my life, man. It's amazing. And I wake up every day thinking about what can we do together?
Yes.
And the motherfuckers that have a problem with what we're trying to do, or I get rid of them. You know, those small-minded motherfuckers, let's go.
So what's the moral of the story here, guys?
Wait, hold on. Before we go any further, I know someone will be like, oh yeah, nepotism or whatnot. But I just want to say that, of course, I don't take incompetence, lightly. Obviously, if someone that you put on is not doing what they're supposed to do, then you can let them go. But that doesn't mean you should leave them in the village.
Wait. I'm sorry.
This is to the other point that I made in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like I didn't conclude it really well. I know someone in the comment section told me, oh yeah.
Let me say this also at the point, because I gotta make a point, right? The point is, I feel like most of us, with the Pan African Africa Free Trade Agreement, which is trying to develop very similar to the European Trade Agreement. We've seen what Kenya's done with the ETA. I was recently there. We had the East African community. It's their decision. But ultimately, we see what the Europeans have done. And the Europeans, and even countries who are not in the Union, like Switzerland and Norway, you can still get a European visa, Schengen visa, and go to Norway.
Yes.
And they understand that it's more strength in working together. If I would have stayed in an African American community, I would have done fairly well. I would still done pretty good. However, coming to Africa has shown me how to even work with blacks in another way I would have never done if I was in Atlanta or in Memphis. I'm gonna tell you why. When we got stuck here in COVID, I went from my family was never more than 4 in the household. We didn't come from a big family. But in COVID, it was like 10 of us in an apartment sometimes. And I had to learn that kind of communal, like neo style of living. And that made me appreciate being around a team and being around people. That was a skill I didn't have. But Africans had that skill that I didn't have. And they taught it to me. And it taught me to be more community minded. And the thing is, we are missing a lot of opportunities because we're differentiating ourselves. And we are excommunicating people because they're not us, but not looking at the fact of what they have to bring to the table. Now, this isn't to say that people are going to be against you and they're haters and they just need to be removed. However, those people who want to work with you can help you achieve more than you can ever achieve in your own one dynamic group. Like I said, that's the thing that we want to talk about. Because when I meet somebody like Jay on the podcast that's African American, or come back and deal with somebody like Agaba or whoever else, or somebody from I'm getting everybody in like business is done like that. We want to increase our opportunities. So as blacks, we've been at the bottom for so long. Look at this documentary called How to Sell to the Negro in 1950. You will see our mindset is so scarce that we don't want to take risks to know people. We don't want to take risks to get to know other folks. And we're not going to get more if we don't get out of that. So we're going to have to say, okay, it's cool for African-American. It's cool from Buganda, from Ankole. But I need to extend more, give myself more opportunities. What can I do for this other group? The Kikuyus in Kenya. I need more of a bigger market to do things. I need more people. I need more help. I need more value. And in the black world, there's so much opportunity to do that. But if we keep delineating ourselves based on just that, you can delineate yourself based on who you are for sure. Because that's who you are. But when it stops there, that's the problem. You can't get more. And everybody who has money, look at Bill Gates. I'm using Microsoft in Uganda. It ain't just available in the States. Is Bitcoin only available in the States?
No.
Everybody, we have to have the same mindset. But the most people who are like that, we are very closed off. And, that's the whole point of this.
Gabs, I hope that answers your question.
That is the moral of the story.
Yeah.
I tried, man. You know, Gabs is an academic, so it's a difference.
Well, that's the cue.
Is there?
But do you trust him in the business?
We've come to the end of this episode. Unless you guys would like to add anything else.
I'm just proud of my African leaders out here who are actually encouraging unity and encouraging collaboration. We need more of that, and we need more really brilliant people who are out there in the diaspora, who are innovators and solution creators, to come on back and participate. I think it's Africa is the final frontier.
Well said.
It is the final frontier.
It's the only frontier.
It's the only frontier that matters at this particular point. So come on back, guys, and let's make it happen.
Yep,
it's not gonna be easy though. So let you know.
Okay, guys. Chef, where can they find you?
You can find me. Send me an email if you're only serious, and you can find me on WhatsApp.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the email? Just say it.
The email is gilbert.katouche@gmail.com, and the phone number that's on WhatsApp is +256 708 791 730.
Okay. Thank you, Gabs.
That's not the same number that your wife be calling you on.
That's what I'm
She's
thinking.
never gonna get through at this point.
Does it matter?
Ooh.
Say less.
Business
Keep
is
this out and
business.
send it to
www.polygamy.com.
All right. Follow me at Master Gabs on every platform that matters, and tune into the Allergic to Average YouTube channel as well. Shout out to everybody who's got that allergy like I got. It's important to have that mindset.
Y'all know. Don't message me. I don't want to talk to you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, guys.
But can they message you?
No.
I saw a lot of dudes that be storytime music. Like every podcast, it's a lot of dudes that's trying to are you single, ready to get married
No,
right now?
I've stopped
That's in the
answering that
comment
question.
section.
I've stopped answering that question.
You don't want to get married or anything? Is there like a bride
Yeah,
price
you
they can?
check out my YouTube channel at Janita Maya. Exciting.
She got a repat podcast of her own
No,
that I had to find out for myself.
it's not a repeat podcast. It's different.
What's it about?
It's just like
You see how Negroes
I'm
do you?
building it till I
Building
find
it
something
up.
that sticks. Yeah. But yeah, guys, check out my YouTube channel at Janita Maya, and make sure you follow us on our social media platforms at King and the Nation. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, turn on the bell for notifications, and let us know what you think in the comment section. We'll see you guys next time.